是回到他的手上，这个距离相当的远，离出了第3节。
Twitter is the 21st century's premier news and opinion platform. NBA fans and players love to joke about league events, and some of them are downright hilarious. However, some of these opinions are not entirely accurate. There are reasons for laughter among fans that really don't make sense. Because reaching the NBA at some point in your career means you're probably one of the best 500 players on the planet. The mass exodus of American players to China is often a source of mockery by NBA fans. The CBA, China's domestic basketball league, is a common destination for players who decide or are forced to leave the most competitive league in the world. In most cases, it's due to a lack of talent to find a contract in the league. In others, simply because of entrepreneurial opportunity. So let's start with one of the earliest NBA stars to leave for China. Stephon Marbury was one of the basketball icons of New York City. Born in Brooklyn, the point guard dominated the courts of both the streets and the high schools. His dominance in the high school and collegiate levels allowed him to be selected 4th overall in the 1996 draft, alongside some of the best players in league history, such as Allen Iverson, Ray Allen, and Kobe Bryant. Marbury ended up with the Minnesota Timberwolves, where he would begin his career alongside Kevin Garnett, and his performance translated well to the professional level, becoming an all-star twice during his career. However, when he was still just 30 years old, an ankle injury caused him to lose his athletic abilities. Stephon fell out of the New York Knicks and Boston Celtics rotation, ending his NBA career. Before his injuries, Marbury created a sneaker line in 2006 that had something different from the rest, and that was the price. For as little as $15, basketball fans could own a branded sneaker from an NBA player. Marbury's blew up the athletic shoe market nationwide, but their success was multiplied when Stephon finished his career in the NBA. And what would be the end to his NBA journey actually jump-started what would be the starting point of the most iconic part of Marbury's career. The Asian market is one of the largest in the world. Mandarin is the most widely spoken native language on Earth, with nearly 1 billion native speakers. And this market has long been sought after by the NBA. In a country with great basketball interest, the high population of fans allows China to be one of the most beneficial options for players leaving the league. And part of the development of this intercontinental connection lies with Stephon Marbury. According to some reports, the Chinese basketball market has 500 million fans and is worth a whopping $1.5 billion currently. The player took advantage of his good NBA career to become the best player in the CBA. From the streets of Brooklyn, he became the icon and idol of a country that increasingly loved American basketball. Marbury took advantage of his pull to expand the empire of his sneakers, which were sold in great volume in the Asian country. With the passage of time, the player has mythologized his career, and will always be remembered for being the first to break borders. It's beyond high honors. I'm a black kid from the ghetto of Coney Island, Brooklyn, who only ever dreamed of playing in the NBA. So to have that dream come true, but then go on this second journey in China? It's so far beyond anything that kid could have imagined. And he wouldn't be the last. Marbury was paid a reported $2 million per year during the start of his CBA career. Many other players have followed in his footsteps to earn contracts that exceed the value of other non-NBA leagues, and also allowed them to access this massive market. Stephon has extended his success in China post-playing career to become head coach of the Beijing Royal Fighters. Jeremy Lin's parents, both Taiwanese, immigrated to the United States during the 1970s, so the point guard was able to live the American dream, attending high school in Palo Alto, California. Lin was an overnight phenom in the NBA back in 2012. People were crazy about this point guard who had come out of nowhere and had become the star of the New York Knicks. The basketball city where everything becomes bigger. People were talking about Linsanity, and boy, they were totally right.
Lin for the win! Got it!
But it wasn't a fluke. Jeremy really had the potential to become a good NBA player, and he did as long as injuries didn't hinder him, going on to have an even better season than the Knicks, in which he averaged 18 points per game with the Brooklyn Nets. However, as we already mentioned, his eventual patella tendon rupture took its toll and left him without a spot in a transitioning NBA during the 2019-2020 season. The player then got a contract in the CBA with the Beijing Ducks for about $3 million per year. Of course, Lin, because of his ethnicity, had a big pull in the Asian market. As he explains in his documentary Linsanity, his story served to make millions of people feel identified, a breaking of barriers in which people thought, if he can do it, so can I. Because that's what our world's all about in the age of globalization. Players like J.R. Smith, O.J. Mayo, Lance Stevenson, Marshawn Brooks, Shabazz Muhammad also decided to try their luck in the CBA when their NBA retirement were still years away. Others like Dwight Howard chose Taiwan as his destination, which also has a competitive basketball league. In addition to his $1 million US salary, The former Superman will also earn additional fanfare and recognition as one of the biggest basketball names in Taiwan. The case of Andre Blatche is very interesting. The player possessed great talent and lived off his basketball skills and size. He even averaged 17 points per game in his best season with the Washington Wizards. In 2014, the power forward decided to naturalize with the Philippine national team with the intention of playing in the World Cup in Spain. And not only did he make it, but he also had a great performance in the World Cup. While he did make headlines while representing the Philippines, Blatche eventually jumped over to the CBA as well, signing one of the largest CBA contracts at the time, worth $7.5 million over 3 years with the Xinjiang Flying Tigers. But Asia's not the only destination for players who leave the NBA. Europe is a region with great interest in basketball. Current NBA superstars like Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, or Luka Doncic formed their basketball skills in the old continent. Amare Stoudemire is another player who also ended up in the CBA, but in the process went through the Israeli League. The Phoenix Suns and New York Knicks star was paid $600,000 a year, which is a minute figure compared to the $167 million he pocketed during his NBA career. Whether or not Amare did it for the pure love of basketball or a chance to develop a basketball market in a new region will only be known by the former Rookie of the Year. In Europe, moreover, there have been some rather interesting stories. The implementation of the NBA rule that prevented players from reaching the league directly from high school made several players consider their options. One of them was Brandon Jennings, who during the season after graduating decided to play professionally in Europe to get paid during that time. He did so with L'Automatica Roma, where he signed a $1.2 million deal straight out of high school as a stepping stone to the NBA. He then started his NBA career where injuries hampered his consistency, but still gave him time to show his potential, with performances like the one he had against the Warriors in 2009.
More of the floor to use than on a tight pick and roll on a foul line extended.
This situation strangely also occurred in the CBA. Emmanuel Mudiay decided to spend that year between high school and the NBA with the Guangdong Southern Tigers in 2014, which allowed him, like Jennings, to cash in for a reported $1.2 million that season. The point guard shared a team with another former NBA player that season, Will Bynum. After his short tenure in the NBA, the point guard tried his luck with the Lithuanian powerhouse Žalgiris Kaunas for a reported $450K a year. More than just money, part of the attraction of NBA players to Europe is the good basketball competition. When they're still young, good performances overseas can allow them to return to the league in the future, as players like Shane Larkin have done. However, the competition is very tough, and the slower game played in the EuroLeague often does not translate well to players whose game is based on a much higher pace. It's also very common for some players to return to their home league to retire. Marc Gasol, for example, when his contract with the Lakers ended, signed for very little money with his hometown team, Akasvayu Girona, who was not even in the country's first division. His brother Pau chose Barcelona, a team with which he excelled before being the third pick in the 2001 draft. Other players from this country, such as Sergio Rodriguez, have bounced between the NBA and the Spanish League during their careers. The salary usually never exceeds $1 to $2 million, so players usually do it for the love of basketball, or as a showcase for the future. While the common landing spots for ex-NBA players are Europe and the CBA, other pro leagues around the world are starting to pop up due to the global growth of the game. In recent years, we've seen ex-NBA stars like DeMarcus Cousins, Tyreke Evans, and Hassan Whiteside join up-and-coming leagues like the BSN in Puerto Rico. There are many players in today's league that fans can't help but relate to the CBA and other overseas leagues. Dillon Brooks and Ben Simmons are two current examples, yet they're going to pocket a combined $58 million over the next season. Going overseas is not giving up basketball. In fact, if done correctly, it can simply be the next step in many players' lucrative basketball and business careers. Because in the world we live in, life is not just about basketball. So maybe we should all get ready to learn Chinese.
你好，我是胡华德。